We're developing right now the ground robotic assistant for care enablement, which is a robot that supports individuals to live better, takes care of the mundane tasks so the caregivers are not burnt out. And, our goal is to allow everyone to live better.
Welcome to your podcast, Successful Quitters, by Sara Nunez Bee. Would you rather go to space or have dinner with someone you admire that you have no access to right now?
Go to space.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you rather go on a bike ride or a run?
Run.
Would you have breakfast for dinner? Would you rather have breakfast for dinner or a salad for dinner?
Oh, neither. I'm. Well, I guess if I have to choose, I'll say let's go with the healthy choice, salad.
Yeah, totally hate the breakfast for dinner. Yeah. Thank you for being here again, you guys. This is another episode of Successful Quitters, a podcast that highlights the different things individuals have had to quit in order to become successful in their arena. And I am Sara Nunez Bee, your host. Today, I'm super excited to interview our guest because he is so many things and he's done so much and creating a very positive impact in this world. He is a former professional basketball player, a success coach, an engineer with a master's degree in robotics, the author of Mobility and Inclusion: An Accessible World is an Inclusive World. Let's make life accessible for all. I love the name, by the way. The founder and CEO of MarkBotix. Welcome, Harout Markarian.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that lovely introduction. You've done quite a bit of research about me.
Absolutely, definitely. Harout, I'm very excited to interview you because you've done so much. You're doing so much so far. And this is just the beginning from what I can tell of your journey when it comes to robotics, because you're going to be able to accomplish so much more. And I'm very interested to know how it all started. So can we go back a couple of years and talk about how Harout was at 5 years old?
Oh, 5 years old. 5 years old. I think I was living in the shelter because of a civil war in Lebanon. So that's where I was at 5 years old. And my background, I was born and raised in Lebanon, immigrated to the United States of America in 2008. So before that, I was actually a dancer as well. I danced for about 14, 15 years, starting from age 7.
What kind of, was this more of a classical
it was
dance?
more like ballet, Armenian folklore, Arabic folklore, a little bit of gypsy, Georgian. So it was a mix of everything, yeah.
So when I said that you've done it all, I was not lying. Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Do you
Appreciate
still
it.
dance or not really?
Oh, no, I don't dance at all. I don't even play basketball no more. So everything that I used to do, it seemed like I no longer do because other priorities took over in my life at this stage. Yeah, so I danced, and then I started playing professional basketball at the age of 16. Did that for a little bit, and then
what area were you in at 16? Like, where did you live?
Oh, I was in Lebanon. I was in Lebanon.
Oh, you were still there. Wow.
Yeah. I came here. I was 23, 24 years old. So that's kind of
I
came to the U.S. at a later, relatively later stage in my life. So most of my
Yeah,
growing up
you were
happened in
fully
Lebanon.
formed.
Yeah.
Wow. I came when I was 14 from
Well,
Peru.
from Peru. Yeah,
So, yeah,
I saw the
definitely
flag.
can
That's how I knew
relate.
that you were from Peru.
From Peru, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you have any interest whatsoever in what you're doing nowadays at that age? How was high school back then? Were you like, did you have many friends, or what was your interest in
I mean,
outside of sports?
I high school sucked. Like I I hated going. Uh, I hated going because I had no interest. My interest was in basketball. I was playing professionally when I was in high school. So and to be a professional athlete, it takes a lot of your time and dedication. So I wasn't really focusing a lot of my time on my school or on my studies. So that kind of that wasn't a good area of my life at the time. But
Yeah.
uh, I had to go through it because my parents always insisted that, oh, you need to go get your education, and you need to graduate, you need to go get a degree, so all that good stuff, right? And my both my parents were basketball players before me. My dad played
Oh, wow.
professionally longer than I did, and he did not want me to pursue that path just because he knows
Yeah.
um, he knows how the dynamics were, especially being a professional athlete in Lebanon at the time. It wasn't the same as being a professional athlete in Europe or in the United States, right? So you weren't making a lot of money. You still had a job, to be able to pay your bills, and so it's not the same when we talk about being a professional athlete. When I was, when even worse, when my dad was a professional athlete, people used to work and then do the professional athlete later after their work. So it was a challenging time.
Wow.
That's why my dad didn't want me to pursue that
Yeah.
path.
And how does it work when it comes to high school and all? By the way, I think that most entrepreneurs, and I always say this because it's something that most entrepreneurs have in common, everyone hated school because their mind was somewhere else, their interest was somewhere else. So it is a thing. It's not just you. Most people
Yeah,
hated high school.
exactly. But at the same time,
It
it's
was
important, right?
there very important,
Yeah.
extremely important. How's high school out there different than here? Is as far as like you say, you have to work if you're playing sports, but how does it work when it comes to school? Do you have to go like you do here, or
Oh yeah,
do you
yeah.
just go if you
Uh,
can?
no, it's a night and day difference between here and back in Lebanon. It's like military school, It's like you go there very strict. You're learning four languages at a time. The level of education is very high, very competitive, very difficult. When I say difficult,
Mhm.
it's not that it's difficult. It's just demanding, right? That's a better word to use. It's demanding. Um,
Yeah.
and the reason I can make that comparison, because when we moved here, my sister, my youngest sister, was still going through high school, so she did her high school here, and I saw the amount of work she put in when she came here versus the amount of work she used to put in at school in Lebanon, and night and day difference. She used to cry to sleep every day, or cry to go through her homework and study for exams and whatnot. And over here, she just
She's like piece of cake
yeah, exactly. So
over here.
yeah, I wasn't too
Yeah,
happy
that's
about it at the time, but
crazy.
it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And, everyone has a different journey and everyone definitely has a different upbringing. Even if two kids are raised in the same household within the same country, everyone experiences things differently anyway. And
Yep,
that's part of what makes us so appealing to each other, that we always have different things to offer as well. And
totally.
was there anyone growing up at that age or even a little bit younger? Did you have a hero, someone that you looked up to, or someone that you were very close to?
Um, I mean, I had a lot of quote unquote friends. The person I looked up to was my dad. Really,
Hmm.
I wouldn't think of anyone else as I was growing up. I was always very mindful to not disappoint my father. Now,
Hmm.
having said, I should preface that by saying that I disappointed him a lot growing up. So it's not like, but that was in the back of my mind. It's the only person I wanted to impress was my father, and
Hmm.
that's how I grew up. And my dad and I are very close, but we don't talk. Right? We don't talk to each other. We understand each other perfectly well, but it's not by words.
Yeah.
It's like communication through eyes, through behavior, through work, and that type of stuff. Growing up, I didn't talk to my dad much. I talk to him a lot more now than before. But that's the only person growing up that I looked up to, because my dad was also an entrepreneur, and in very difficult conditions, he was able to raise a family with 4 kids. And my mom never worked, so it was I admired my dad. His character, his decision making capabilities, the way he handled himself under stress. Those are all things that I looked up to, and I wanted to uh, be like when I
Mm,
grew up. Right at the time, that was my thought.
that's beautiful. And I think parents, my dad is like that in a way as well, but because he's more strict.
Hmm.
And so I know that he loves me. He knows that I love him, but it's like the communication or the touch and everything else is not the same as with my mom because that's how they
Yeah,
are. But it makes you want to be better too. And I
absolutely.
think it kind of gives you a backbone.
Oh yeah,
You go through the right to the correct path because that person exists in your life.
yeah,
Everything else
100%.
is less strict. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
that
my dad was the
shows in
same thing.
life.
Yeah, my dad was the same thing. My
Yeah.
dad was very
Yeah,
strict.
yeah.
I mean, me, I have 3 sisters. We talked to growing up. We always talked to my mom. Never talked to my dad. Not because not because he told us not to talk to him. It's just like it was like
Right.
we didn't know because he was so strict. We didn't know how to approach it. And my mom was so much more open and
Open.
easy to talk to, right?
Yeah.
So that's
That's the
eventually.
perfect combination though. That's the
I think
perfect
so too. Yes.
combination because yeah, if you know that if something heavy, massive happens, he'll find out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the little things that mom can help you solve, your little mistakes here and there, and she'll ease the way in. And so,
Yeah.
are you the oldest one?
I am the oldest. Yes.
Oh, wow. And on top of that, you're leading all your siblings, all your sisters.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. Having 3 sisters is a blessing and a pain at the same time, especially during those teenager years. Where your parents you know don't let your sisters to go places by themselves, but when you're with them, they will allow them to go. So, and sometimes I used to want to go alone, but they're like, oh, take your sisters.
That's
Oh,
how it
okay.
works.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that works the same way in every culture because it's been like that. My older brother hated it, but he had to take me places and it was terrible. And I wanted to
yeah.
go. And then you guys moved here. Were they
Mhm.
born there? Well, one of them was born there, but were the other two born there?
No, no, we were all born in Lebanon.
Oh, they were all born there. Okay. And so you moved here and you went to what college here directly, or did you
So,
go to?
funny story, when our papers, when we received a note from the embassy to go to the embassy um, to review our case, they said we have a month to leave everything and be in the United States. So, in a matter of month, our entire life changed. You know, it was
Changed.
one day was something, a month later was like 180 degrees opposite, right? And
Wow.
yeah, and so I that was the June July time frame, and at the time I was at my third year in university there, so I had a year to complete my to get my degree in engineering, but I had never completed it because I had to leave and come to the United States, and I hadn't made any any reservations or any plans. I didn't have any plans to go to any university here. Didn't talk to anybody. So July 31st, I stepped foot, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to complete my college degree. I started by going to a community college, Pierce College, actually, which is relatively close to us. Uh, and I stayed 1 year there, which was a blessing in disguise. As I said, you know, I was a professional athlete, so my grades were not doing so hot at the time. So I was able to kind of, uh, you know, have better grades and be in better standing. Then I changed and went to Cal State Northridge to finish my engineering degrees.
Yeah. Was there any point where school became something that you liked?
Yes, during my master's program. So up until my last year of my undergrad in engineering, I was just going to I was just going to school to get that piece of paper to show it to my parents and hey, here you go. This is what you wanted. Get off my back, you know. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then I was part of the robotics team for senior design, and I really enjoyed putting theory to application. And that's where my passion for robotics grew. That's when I really wanted to pursue masters in robotics. And during my master's program, that's where I really enjoyed um,
Mm,
educating myself or going to school to learn something. Um,
yeah.
that's you know during my master's program, and then later when I did my master's in MBA, business administration, that's also something that I looked forward to. I also earned my master's degree from Pepperdine University in management and business administration, and
Hmm.
I loved being in that program.
Yeah. You had finally found things that you were extremely interested in and you really wanted to learn now, huh?
Absolutely,
Good for
and
you.
yeah, up until today, I always find something that I want to learn about, and I make an effort to educate myself, whether it's signing up to classes online or getting different courses here and there, or just educating myself through YouTube videos or GitHub or what have you, right? So I'm always looking to learn more to increase my education in various industries and various technologies in various aspects of what surrounds us really and what interests us.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so you started working in something else, right?
That's true. When
After
I was in
college, where
my
did you go?
first job was at Circor Aerospace. That was originally it started in Sylmar, but then the company relocated to Corona, California, which was quite a bit of a ways from where it originally was, and I was commuting for an hour and a half each way every day, um, which was very difficult. I enjoyed that. I'm still in contact with my boss from those days. It's been 16 years. I still talk to my boss, my first boss at Circle Aerospace. I still talk to him today.
Nice.
We have a great relationship. He mentored me a lot, and you know, till today we're still trying to do business together, and which is the fulfilling part of being in an employment environment, right? I always say this: I never go to work just for the paycheck. I look forward to just more than that, a lot more than that. I look forward to the relationships. I look forward to, advancing the technology, advancing the business, and whatever comes with it. And because of that, I was able to nurture relationships that are meaningful to me till today.
Yeah. The funny thing and interesting thing is that the seed was actually planted in college, and you had to meet all these people, and like you said, this person is mentoring you and is a friend of yours. And so sometimes there are steps in life that we don't understand why we're taking at that moment. We're like, why am I doing this? Or this is difficult, I shouldn't go through this, I should go to the end point.
Yeah,
But in reality, at the end, you kind of circle back to that beginning and understand why you had to take those steps, because they're for you, not never against you. And
absolutely.
so then, how was it that you decided, I am going to open my startup?
My dad owned his business, and I always had this idea in my mind that one day I would want to own my own company. But that was just a thought. I never knew what that really meant. Um, and then years later, during my master's program, when I was studying robotics, I was able to work with a severely paralyzed person on brain-computer interface that allowed him to move objects with his thoughts. And when I initially was working on this
Wow.
project, I was working on it because it was really cool. It sounded cool to be able to move things with your thoughts, right? It's it's revolutionary. It feels like it's something from the future. But when I got to test this technology with this individual, in this case, we were trying to move his motorized wheelchair. Um, I realized that robotics could be used for a lot more than just being a cool project to work on, right? So at the time, also, both my grandparents, due to old age, became completely dependent on caregivers. And I lived firsthand, experienced the challenges that comes with caring for someone you love. Of being able to afford the caregiving fees, nursing fees, and seeing the challenges that these individuals go through, not just the caregivers, but also my grandfather and my grandmother, who now are fully dependent on other people to live their lives. And I realized that I could do things with robotics that will be able to help both the caregiver and the person with the mobility challenge. And that's how the journey started. At this point, I still didn't know how how I should address it, or how can robotics really help here. So that's why I went on to 2 years of customer discovery session. That's when I wrote the book Mobility and Inclusion. Um, Today, unfortunately, the word inclusion took a lot of nonsense, I should say, nonsense meanings. It
Yeah.
lost its valuable meaning of supporting and adding value to everyone, right? Now it has a bunch of other meanings that I really don't want to get into. But the purpose behind mobility and inclusion was really for the people with disabilities, older adults, veterans with disabilities, wounded veterans, just to bring them back and leveling the playing field with everyone, making them part of the society that left them behind. So,
Yeah.
you know, the book was an effort to do research on how robotics
Mm.
could improve the quality of their lives, how robotics could improve accessibility and reduce caregiver burnout. That's how it started. And through that effort, I actually spoke to over 1,000 people in my customer discovery phase
Yeah.
of customer discovery journey. Uh, Took a year and a half talking to over 1,000 people, interviewing 100 plus people through Zooms. Did a podcast with that. But yeah, and all in an effort to really understand what the pain point is and how and what solution do they want to see in the world, right? So I didn't sit behind the desk and thought of a solution to solve their problems. I made
Yeah.
them part of the solution making, or part of the solution, right? Tell me how you want to live better. And that's how
Yeah.
we started MarkBotix. We're developing right now the ground robotic assistant for care enablement, which is a robot that supports individuals to live better, takes care of the mundane tasks so the caregivers are not burnt out. And, our goal is to allow everyone to live better.
That's wonderful. One of the most important things, one of them, because everything about this is important, because, the elderly took care of us when we were little as we grew up. And then it's like, now we're so focused on the new generation, on the kids, on the ones that just came in, but it's hard to continue to serve those that served us. But one of the important things, with that being said, is the caregiver burnout, which I had seen on one of your interviews prior, and I thought, when you go to a hospital or anywhere where they're taking care of the elderly, people are tired.
Yep,
People don't have enough time to take care of everybody. And I think that brings a hand to those that could have a better attitude towards the elderly. Yeah,
absolutely.
so that's a very big solution for that.
Yeah. That's what we're trying to
Absolutely.
do. That's our goal. Our goal is, so a lot of people ask me, so is this replacing caregivers? So absolutely not. The answer to that question is absolutely not, because as it is today, we have caregiver shortages. The turnover rate is 77% since 2022, or I should say, as of 2022, the caregiver turnover rate is 77%, and the older adult population keeps on increasing. So the more it increases, the more we're going to be in need of these caregivers. And our goal is to work alongside the caregiver to
Hmm.
render the most valuable service both to the caregiver and to the patient that is receiving the care. And that's our goal.
Yeah. And would you give us a little bit of a specification on what these robots would do, adding value to the caregiver?
So right now we're focusing on four main categories, which is retrieval, communication, inspection, and infection control. So, and these came from a lot of research. We met with uh, chief operating officers of certain assisted living facilities and asked them how could, or what tasks would you want the robot to take care of. And this is what we gathered. In terms of retrieval, that's taking or bringing stuff from or to the patient, so that the caregivers won't be burdened every single time that there's something small that the patient or the resident in that assisted living facility needs. Um, in terms of communication, there's a remote communication capability in the robot, meaning if the caregiver is busy or doing something else, they would be able to remotely log in to the robot, see the patient, and the patient would be able to see them, talk to them, and either ask for advice or ask for medication or ask for whatever it is that they need. Um, and there's the remote operability option as well, where the caregiver is remotely in a remote setting and taking care of a task in the resident's room, let's say. And think about it from, let's say, if we're rendering an in-home care situation. If I'm taking care of my grandmother, I'm at work right now, I can't be in her house, I could remotely log into the robot, see her, talk to her, ask her if she needs anything, and if she does, and that task is within the capability of the robot, I'll have the robot do it while I'm here. So these are the kind of things that we're
Yeah.
focusing on. So of course, inspection, kind of looking around, seeing that there's nothing that could cause a fall as let's say someone is walking, someone with mobility challenges is out and about and walking in the hallways, there's no risk of
That's
falling.
outstanding.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what we're focusing on, and of course there are other features that we could put in the robot, but we're being mindful of, because the more features you put in the robot, the more expensive the robot gets. And our goal is one of our goals at least, is to deliver the robot to the end user in as affordable as possible.
Yeah. And another thing that you guys have is the FaceTime feature.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
you can FaceTime your person at the assisted living facility. And what that made me think of is when they actually added the cameras to cups, and
yeah.
now everything is being recorded.
Hmm.
And I was wondering how open these facilities would be to having this kind of safety for the elderly, like, because they would be watched, which is wonderful in
Yeah.
my eyes. You
Hmm.
always want to make sure that they're safe and that people are treating them correctly.
Yeah, that's true. And there are a lot of reports coming from these independent living, assisted living facilities where uh, reports suggest that these people aren't being taken care of the way they're supposed to, right? There's a lot of abuse, elderly abuse, or what have you. Um, so in this case, I don't know what the right answer to that is. Anytime that there's a innovation like that, like this, it requires for a lot of people to come together to decide how best to use the technology. So
Yeah.
we're going to see how that's going to turn out.
To agree or disagree, for
Yeah,
sure. And but I mean, I think it's, as far as safety, for example, my mom does not want to go to a place, but if you needed to and if she had to, which would be, not in our plans, God willing, but if that was the case, that's like the most important person in your life and you want to make sure that they're okay. So
yeah,
the more help, the better. The more eyes, the better. So I would assume that that would be a great thing for the people that are taking their family members there.
yeah.
And how far along are you in the process? Do you already have a few that are being tested? Where are you at in your process?
No, so we built a prototype and tested it with over 300 people. And the prototype just retrieved items. So pick things up, transfer things from this place to that place, place it in this particular, spot. That's the kind of thing that we developed, the robot that we developed and tested. We tested with 300 people, and we did that to see if there's going to be a product market fit, if people are going to be enthusiastic and want to see the solution in the market. And to our great surprise, it was overwhelmingly positive feedback that a lot of people will
Good.
really look for having such a device in their homes, even, right? And so that's how now today we have the design fully ready. We're not a manufacturer, so we just do the design, the software, and the business aspect of things. Now we're raising the first round of funding to be able to develop our first version prototype and be able to run beta tests.
I see. And where are these manufactured at or expected to
They're currently
be?
manufactured in the United States, but that would be I don't know if it's going to be different conversations that we need to have once we come to scaling the product. Right now, because initially we're going to develop two for pilot programs, and then after that, once we start getting purchase orders, then we have to see what makes business sense, and based on that, we're going to have
Yeah.
to make our decision accordingly.
Of course. And right now, do you have an idea of what the price range could possibly be? I know we're in kind of the early ages, but is there an idea of what the
Yeah,
price
so
would be like?
This is going to be a robot as a service business model. That means that people won't have to be burdened by the upfront cost to have access to the robot. They would be
Hmm.
paying monthly subscription fees, if you will, and that's below $2,000. I think below 1,900. So it's about $1,900 monthly to have this, if you want to have this in home. But if not, then $1,900 to have this in assisted and independent living facility where we already have letters of intent. So the places that we went and spoken with, they have already given us letters of intent that they'll be willing to test, to pilot test it and purchase the robot when it's ready. So the price range at a monthly subscription fee is almost $1,900, and then our goal is to make the robot as cheap as $9,000 when we scale it.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty fair. Sounds like it. I'm sure things are gonna change, but sounds like so far a fair price.
Yeah, I think so too. Just to give you a quick comparison, there's another company that does a similar thing right now. Not exactly the same, but similar in many ways. That their robot costs $100,000 to make, right? And this is after 6 years being into the business, which is a lot, in my humble opinion, and that I'm speaking based on my experience in being in product development environment for over a decade now. Um, so our process is much more efficient. Our prices are much more appealing to our end users. Having said that, we're still going with going to talk to insurance companies to cover some of the costs, because we realize that for the um average home, $2,000 a month is going to be a lot to ask. So hopefully we'll be in negotiations with the insurance companies to cover some of the costs, and there'll be a minimum cost to the end user.
Which is great because I am sure that whenever the government pays for care outside of a facility, it's a lot more expensive and they might do just the same things that a person could actually do without
Yeah,
having to have that person there.
exactly.
With that being said, we don't necessarily have to replace everybody, but sometimes in order to give them a little bit of help, it's going to be affordable for the government. And this way, they don't have to stay without a caregiver. Um,
Absolutely, because we want to reduce the hospital readmissions, right? So I don't know if you know, today we spend $50 billion yearly on medical costs related to fall injuries, right? And for older adults, as I'm sure you know, when they fall, they don't really recover like they used to
yeah,
when they during their younger age. So
yeah,
a fall is more harmful than a fall for you or me, let's say, right? So it's important to keep them safe. And also, it's not about eliminating people. People who are getting older, they want to age with dignity, right? They don't want someone to always take care of them. They want their independence. They want
yeah.
to have that ability to do things themselves. It's not about replacing people. It's about allowing people to age with dignity. And that's kind of what we're doing.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's crazy to think that robots are a thing nowadays, but it is the case for many places. They have a lot of now that I was doing my research for this, I was seeing that, this is a possibility, but they also have like cleaning robots at these assisted facility places. And, these don't replace people, but can be more on point on the things that the people that are working, that their employers are doing. They can actually be on point with their numbers and their times. And,
Yeah.
so it's definitely a powerful addition.
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
That's one thing. And the other thing is there are labor shortages, right? So they can, for example, one assistant facility we met with told us that they cannot hire cleaners fast enough. They can't find cleaners to clean their buildings. So having a robot that cleans your different areas of your facility, that's a huge help to you, right? So
It's a
there you
huge
have it.
help.
Yeah.
And what do you think is the upgrade from your competitors to what you're gonna put out in the market?
Well, I mean, they don't offer the real-time video audio capabilities, so we do, and that's patented technology. Uh, they don't offer remote operability. That's also patented technology. And those are the things that we defer right now. And usually, when it comes to startups, you have to know your competitors, but even then you have to know your market size. And when you look at the
Yeah.
market size that exists today for people with disabilities, aging population, caregiver shortages, the unpaid caregivers, the so-called unpaid caregivers who are you and I taking care of our parents, let's say, right? Grandparents. Um, that's a huge market. So we need more people to uh, address this problem, right? Otherwise, for one, two, three, four companies, it's going to be difficult to fill the gap.
But even if even if there weren't enough places and you did have to compete, I
Mhm.
mean, the fact that this is that you can work this remotely is huge.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, some people are old, but they're like, I can do it by myself. I don't need the help. You know, this
Mhm.
could definitely add so much to their life and make them feel like you're there without you being there, which
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
extremely powerful.
Yep.
That's awesome. And so let's talk money. So
Okay.
right now you have this startup and it's definitely important because it's positive for our lives that this continues to go on. So what is it that you're looking for as far
So
as investors?
right now, our first round of funding, we're asking for $500,000. That's going to
Mhm.
be on a safe or convertible note agreement. And again, there's nothing written in stone, right? At the same time, the investor that is going to invest in our company has to have this similar vision, similar passion to care and to deliver this technology to the market and realize how impactful it'll be in the lives of many. Um, so that's where we are right now. Our first round of funding is going to be $500,000 on safe or convertible notes. And people
And
usually ask, okay, what's
what
your
is
valuation to the company? And and again, nothing written in stone, right? But we're thinking about $4 million pre-money valuation.
yeah. And like you said, you guys already have had a positive answer from the people that
Absolutely.
you've offered the product to. So,
Yeah, we
it's
have
never one. Yeah.
we have
Once you go
200
into
letters of
business, it's
intent
never sure.
right now from individuals
So that's,
seeking. Yeah, exactly.
oh, go for it. You were talking about the letters. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the letters of intent, we have 200 letters from individuals seeking in-home care, and we have 35 from assisted living facilities. And the more people we talk to, uh, the more apparent the need is. I've yet to hear one person say that this isn't going to be impactful or influential in people's lives. There are some, in my mind, ignorant people that they say, oh, do we really need a Jetsons robot in people's homes? But they don't really understand the need of the people who are mobility challenged, the need of the elderly, right? So in my mind, if today someone comes to me from that demographic, like either an older adult or people with disability, a veteran, an injured veteran, comes to me and say, "This is stupid, and we're not going to get somewhere with it." Okay, I'll say, maybe his opinion to me matters more because he is living that life. But someone who's not living that life and tells me that, oh, this is going to be like another Jetson robot, do we really need it? That opinion does not matter to me, because you either don't understand the need or you're not living it, right?
When people say that, you have to say, yes, we do, because think about this. Everything that's on the Jetsons cartoon is actually happening nowadays.
That's
Zoom,
true.
the way the cars go. So yes, this is how the world is meant to evolve. So
Yeah,
this help is definitely needed. The people that are gonna say that it might not be needed, they're not your audience anyway. And at a
true.
certain point, it's like iPhones, everyone's
Yeah,
gonna have them and everyone's gonna use them.
that's
It's
true.
part of the evolution of that we're actually living nowadays, with AI and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
So good for you.
Thank you.
And so, what is the long-term goal of yours with this project?
This project, well, hopefully will eventually, I want to be in homes, because we did some studies and realized that there's a need to put these in homes, municipalities, for the various military applications, law enforcement. So there's a potential growth in different market verticals with this particular product robot. Outside of that, we have two other projects that we have in our pipeline that we're thinking about. So this is going to be
Mhm.
MarkBotix, as a robotics startup, is going to be a company that delivers or develops robots to the benefit of society. And I'm going to say that much right now. I don't want to
I
spill
love
too
it.
much. So
Yeah, no, that's good enough. Harout, what were the things that you had to quit in order to become who you are now? That person that had the guts to take that step and say, I'm gonna get my startup going, and all of those things that you are developing nowadays.
So the first thing I had to quit was basketball, because I had a lot of
Yeah.
I had a lot of challenge to letting that go, because I had so much passion for the game, that even when it was over, I wasn't able to admit that it was over because it meant to me so much. But I had to quit that, and then I had to quit a lot of limiting beliefs within me, to be able to get on this path of constant rejection, if you will. Because when you're a when you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur. You're always pitching, right? You're pitching your ideas, you're pitching your startup, and until you get to a certain point where you're confidently and efficiently communicating or delivering your pitch, you're going to hear a lot of no's. So
Yeah.
it's important to not give up, not get disappointed, and just stay true to what you believe in. Stay true to your vision, and and then you realize that you have to quit a lot more things along the way that is hurdling your progress or keeping you from moving forward. So I had to quit some stuff like basketball, limiting beliefs, to be able to do this right now. Um, and I'm sure I have to quit other things when I decide to progress even further in the future.
Yeah. It's a progressive quitting lifestyle always, especially when you're being an entrepreneur. Like you said, it's crazy to hear so many no's, but I think at a certain point, without realizing it, the people that make it are those that made that commitment to themselves and said, listen, this is a long haul commitment, and we have to make it there regardless of what happens,
Yeah.
because those are the stories that we hear. It's like, I was about to quit and then I made it. I was
Yeah.
about to give up and then I made it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So good,
that
good for
that's
you. Uh-huh.
yeah. I always thought that I never quit. Right. I always go. Um, as long as there's a logical step behind it, I always went for it all. I never quit. But it's simple physics, right? Two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time, so some things has to give. So you have to get rid of some stuff to be able to replace it with other stuff. So, and that's the reality of it.
Yeah. And we as people want to grow in order to become the better version of ourselves anyway. So we got to,
Absolutely.
like you said, be getting rid of certain things and gaining more than what we're giving up.
Yeah,
What
that's
a
true.
pleasure speaking with you. I appreciate your hard work, your enthusiasm, and all the gifts that you are giving this world, because this is how you start, and all of a sudden you impact one person and then you can impact many, many, many lives, especially the lives of those that have given so much.
Yeah.
So, where can people find you, Harout?
They can the MarkBotix website, markbotix.com, on Instagram under Harout ZM, LinkedIn, Harout Markarian. So these are the places that I'm mostly active in, and I'm usually active in socially on social media, specifically through my business endeavors, and that's where I can be reached at.
Perfect. Once again, thank you so much for spending this time with us. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And we're at the end of this one more episode of Successful Quitters. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Let us know if there's anyone else that you would want to be interviewed in this podcast. And I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.